Okay, so welcome to the third week, fourth session. As you remember that in this week we have been discussing about how to design and develop a training program, and in the process we talked about the first part, that is designing part, and then we also talked about the strategy, and here we are going to discuss about in the same continuation that how to design and develop a training program. And in this continuation we will discuss some other issues related to designing a training program. Now, when we are talking about the designing a training program or HRD intervention, what are the major issues and concerns that we need to keep in mind, so that the program that is designed is going to be effective and successful. Now, if you look at this, these are the certain features which is related to a good design. It means, when you are going to develop a training program or you are going to design and develop a training program, the idea is that you follow certain structures, so that your program is going to be effective and the learning is facilitated properly. Now, when we are talking about what are the features or the characteristics of a good design, then these are certain points, like the first point is objectives. You must be having a particular objective, a specific objective of a training program or any kind of HRD intervention, right, and it should be very, very specific. It should be clear that what objectives you are going to have. I will give an example later on. Let me discuss it first, and then you also say that what they are going to learn in a particular program, right. What would be the content of the program, and make sure that the content is related to the knowledge and skill part, which is going to facilitate effective performance. So, the content must be linked with the job of the individual. Then another important issue is that he must get an opportunity to see that whatever he has learned, he is allowed to make use of that on the job. Okay. Suppose you teach something related to a particular area or field, but you do not give him a chance, or either he is not able to get an opportunity to practice that on the job, probably the learning will not be facilitated. Then also sure that whatever methods of training you are going to use, it helps in ensuring that the person is able to remember the things in a better way, right. And finally, you must provide feedback, how well the person is doing in terms of everything, in terms of reactions, feedbacks and other things. Okay. And then during any structured training or HRD intervention program, you make sure that the individual gets an opportunity to learn through interactions, experiences and observations. So, you make sure that it is not going to be purely theoretical program. You are not going to give only lectures and say that this is how it is to be done. So, it should be a combination of experience, because that is more important for learning. He is allowed to interact with others, the peers, trainers, okay. And similarly, he also gets an opportunity to observe that how things are being done, and that will probably help him to learn in a better way. Then you have to see that the entire training program is coordinated in a much better way. So, there has to be coordination from the line managers, trainers and the trainees. Okay. And finally, the most important thing is that when you are going to select trainers for the program, make sure that they have all the credibility, okay, knowledge and skill which is required for a meaningful delivery of the program, and they are going to use an appropriate training program. Now, once we are discussing about what could be the characteristics of a good learning design, which is going to facilitate effective learning, we also need to see some certain other issues. What are the various things that a person is to do? Okay. Based on this, you can see that it includes what? Setting objectives. So, the first important thing is that for any training program, that you are going to set an objective. Say for example, if you are going to have a program on say time management, right. So, I am just writing it. Now, first of all, you are going to write objectives of the training program, what does it, what purpose it is going to serve, and it has to be very specific, right. Since time management is a general management program, so you have to see that how you are going to write the objective of the program. So, what is the objective of this program? What could be the objectives of this program, of a time management program, is that a person who does this kind of program is going to learn that how he is going to manage his time effectively, right. So, that is the basic objective, and if he is able to manage his time effectively, then he is going to be more productive, right. So, that could be a very specific objective related to a time management program, right. So, we will continue our discussion accordingly as and when we discuss other issues. Then the second thing is, then you have to see that who is going to give this kind of training, right. Whether you are going to have it inside, or whether you have people or expertise available within the system or the organization, or you are going to outsource this kind of training, right. Many organizations who are not in a position to afford a training system or training organization, what they do? They try to outsource it. Okay. So, if you are going to outsource it, then you also need to look at the vendor who is going to provide this kind of training, and then you also need to look into the characteristics of the vendors who is going to provide this training. So, either the training is going to be in house or the training is going to be outsource, what you call. Then the next point is that you also need to develop a lesson plan, right. For example, once you have identified the objectives, then you are going to select a trainer, and you decided that okay, you are going to call an expert on time management from outside. Next, the next activity is that you are going to develop a lesson plan. Lesson plan means that what are the activities that you are going to cover in a program, and it depends upon the duration. So, suppose it is a 1-day program. So, and you are going to start with 9 to 5. So, you have to say that what you are going to do at 9, what you are going to do at 10, 11, 12, then from 2, or suppose you are going to have 1 to 2, you are going to have lunch to 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and 4 to 5, right. So, you have to very careful in writing all these things, that what are the activities that you are going to cover in a lesson plan when you are going to do this kind of activities, right. So, you have to develop your lesson plan very carefully to ensure that whatever you are going to deliver is related to the program that you are going to offer, that is time management. Then you have to see that what kind of methods you are going to use, right. When it comes to methods, you have to see that you are, whether it is going to be a combination of lecture and experiences, right, whether it is going to be structured exercises only. So, you have to identify the kind of method that is to be used for the learning experiences, right. We have not yet discussed. So, you can use a combination of different kind of methods that could be used for a training program. Okay. It could be on the job training, it could be based on learning experiences, it could be a combination of lecture and experiences, it could be based on certain games where they are going to play. So, there could be a combination of methods that could be used to provide a training program, right. And then you also provide reading materials. Okay, because these reading materials basically help them to understand the basics of the time management, because you are not going to cover everything in a say 6-hour or 7-hour session on a program on time management. So, these materials basically help the individual to come prepared with certain knowledge which could be used while the training program is being delivered, right, and which could be referred to as a reference point even at a later stage, suppose they have certain doubts. Okay. So, this is how we go about designing and developing a training program, right, and then you are going to schedule a training. This is the schedule that I have talked about. So, if it is a 1-day program, you are going to do like this. Suppose you have a 2-day program, then the things are going to be different, right. So, for both the days you are going to decide the lesson plan, and then what would be the content that is to be discussed, and that is to be mentioned in the brochure that you are going to prepare for the program, right. So, it could be something like that. So, this is a template that I am using to explain a design document. Design document is that the training program document, right. So, first of all you have to tell the objectives, right, what would be the objective of the program, Then another important thing that is left out here is who is your target audience. Target audience in the sense that who is going to attend your program. So, this could be based on TNA, that is training need analysis, or it could be open to managers who are interested to understand the importance of time, right. So, it could be identified based on training need analysis. You can see that who are the people who are not able to effectively utilize their time based on the need analysis, and then you can ask them to attend the program on time management, or if it is open, then you can ask your managers to see that how they are going to better manage their time in order to be more productive, right. So, you decide about the goals, audience, targets. You also decide about the time and checkpoints, from what time to what time, what would be the length of the course, may 1 day, 2 day, whatever it is. Then you also decide about the content, delivery method, what would be the timings, okay, and what kind of problems or opportunities it is going to have. Problem in the sense, okay, what are the things that you are going to face, and once you do this, what kind of opportunities would be available to you, right. For example, when you say if you are able to do this course, what will happen to how this learning is going to add value to your knowledge and skill base, right. Then based on this, you are going to write what would be your resources in terms of trainers and other things, logistics, who is going to be involved, okay, what are the different topics that you are going to cover, how it is going to be administered in terms of boarding, lodging, other things, how it is going to be evaluated, okay, and how this is going to be linked to other program, right. So, all this is going to be a part of a design document. Now, let us see an example. This is an example of a document, and the program is called an effective team building program. So, if you look at this, what I have given you one example related to time management. Now, I am giving you another example of a design document. See, the objective is what? Developing skills that enhances communication and trust, align team members around shared goals, so that they can effectively plan, communicate, execute and deliver. So, if you are going to run this kind of training program, these are the deliverables, okay, and these deliverables have to be there in the content, so that the objectives of a training program is met. Now, with this objective we proceed further, okay, and then we decide about who is going to be the target audience. Okay. So, this program could be for the team leaders or senior managers who are interested to improve their ability to lead and manage teams, so that it is going to enhance their success and leading to better organizational performance, right. So, objectives are identified, very specific, okay. Then target audience is identified, and at the next stage we are going to identify the content. Okay. What we are going to discuss in this program, like stages of team development, what are the how team dysfunctions, so what needs to be done. So, you need to understand the common dysfunctions related to a team working, how team communicates with each other, okay, what kind of leadership strategies to be adopted, okay, how we are going to work in a multicultural environment or work in a virtual teams, okay, how decision is taken, what are the different techniques that could be used in a decision making. Okay. So, the content has been identified, okay, and this content is going to meet the specific objectives in terms of deliverables. So, once you are going to deal with contents, probably they would be able to learn certain things which you are matching with the objectives of the program. Then what are the methods that you are going to use, like case studies, simulated exercises, group discussions, games, even lectures also. Okay. So, you can go for a combination of different kind of methods in order to conduct this kind of program. The certain other things that you need to mention, like what are the dates, for example, is a hypothetical case I have taken here, okay, July 25 to July 27. So, it is a 3-day program, okay, and you have to also give the name of the resource person. So, I have written my name here. Okay. Then the class timings, what would be the timings that is given, what would be the location. Okay. So, all this information has to be provided, so that people understand, okay, what you are going to deliver, who is going to be audience, okay, what are the objectives of the program, when it is going to be held, if there is a course fee that is to be mentioned for the program, so that people know, or if it is conducted by the organization, then there is no course fee, and if they are going, it is outsourced, then the organization has to pay certain course fee, okay, to the trainers for conducting this kind of program. So, this will help you to decide that when you are going to develop a training program, what are the things that you need to take care of, right. So, based on this we can say that a good training object, what is a good training objective? I mean, we are, because the objective part is the most important thing in a training program. Okay. So, when you are looking at objective part, if you are able to clarify your objective clearly, then there is no problem, because everything drives down from the objective, even the content drives comes from the objective only, right. So, you have to see that when you are going to talk about the objectives of a good training program, make sure that when you are communicating the objective of the training program, trainees know what they are going to learn from the program, right, and in what it is going to benefit them, right, and what is the standard of performance that is expected and how it is going to be evaluated, right. Similarly, you are also going to see that okay, what are the things that is required in order to perform what they have learned in terms of resources, equipments, and these kind of things. Okay, and what is the conditions of the performance? Okay. So, the conditions under which you are going to perform has to be clear, because it could be the internal work environment, physical work environment, customers, and all kind of things which might facilitate or hinder your performance. So, you need to very clearly define your conditions. So, three things are there: objectives, performance standards, and the conditions under which you are going to perform the job. So, they may need to be made clear, right. So, when you are going to write the goals and objectives of HRD program, it has three parts, right, that is performance, conditions, and criteria. Okay. So, what we are going to discuss is that when you are going to develop an objective, for example, if I am going to develop an objective for a time management program, and I am going to write objective based on this program, which is having three criteria, that is performance, standard, and criteria, right. So, performance, what you can expect after attending this kind of program, that is to be discussed in performance. Okay. And then you also decide about the performance criteria, standard against which you will be evaluated, and that is what you call the criteria. Now, let us look at how we go about it. Performance standards to achieve, right, that is what is to be done. Say for example, you are going for exercise, you are going to increase your body strength, right, or you are going to assemble a chair. These are different examples that I am giving to explain the standards that is to be defined, right, or catch a football pass, right. So, these examples are coming from different areas, or say graduating from the college. So, if you look at these four performance standards, so these are the performance standards, or the level of performance that is to achieve, but you have to be very, very specific, right. How? So, you have to identify the conditions under which the performance is to be achieved, right, using standard conditioning equipment when it comes to having a good body strength, right, or using a screwdriver and hammer when you are going to assemble a chair, right, or at a full run under man to man coverage. Okay. Third one, and finally, you have without cheating out or outside help when you are, if you want to graduate, right. So, but it is still not what is the criteria that you are going to meet. So, when it comes to criteria of performance, look at this, that is the standard or acceptable level of performance. So, how much? By 15% per year within 1 year, or with 1 hour without mistakes, within 1 hour you are going to assemble a chair, or 75% of time without penalties, or within 5 years with an A grade average. So, these are some of the criteria. Now, I am going to apply this in this case. So, suppose you are going to attend a time management program, right. So, the objective is that you are able to have better time management, to increase productivity, right. Now, when we say that better time management to increase productivity, you have to classify them into this. What is the performance? Okay. How much time you are going to save? You need to identify the standard and conditions under which you are going to do it, right, and also the criteria. So, suppose you say that your productivity is going to increase by 10%, are you able to save 20% of time? It means that you are having 20% more time, right? That is the standard, and then you are going to evaluate against this criteria to see that whether you are able to achieve this performance level or not. So, when we are going to talk about criteria of the performance, you are going to be identifying a objective which is going to be very, very specific, right. Look at this. These are specific examples of objective. It means that you are going to inventory 100 pieces of bulk merchandise in an hour with an error rate of less than 1% using industry standard inventory tools. So, you will find objectives, standards and the criteria. All these three things are mentioned over here, right. Look at another example. You are going to run 40 yards in less than 5 seconds on a dry level field, that is the condition, with winds less than 10 mile per hour, right. So, it is a very, very specific objective. The criteria, standards are identified here. Another example, look at this. After training, you are going to identify the 4 basic stages involved with that training with HRD within the 5 minutes. Okay. So, suppose there is a situation and you have to go for an intervention. So, you are able to identify, okay, these are the different processes that you need to adopt to conduct a training program, and this could be for HRD professionals, right. Or if you are going to assemble a chair or cycle, so completely assemble one child bike within 1 hour using common hand tools, that is the standard conditions under which you are going to do it, provided on December 24 without cursing. Okay. So, you are going to specify everything in the criteria, objectives. So, now we have discussed enough about different how to set objectives, because if objectives are set properly, you will be in a better position to move further, right. Now, another important thing that we have to see that whether you are going to make or buy. It means that whether the program is to be conducted internally with experts available within the organization, or you are going to outsource it, right. The reason is that for certain programs there could be in-house experts, right, but not necessary that you have experts on everything, and at the same time you also need to ensure that when you are going to conduct a program in terms of cost benefit analysis, it is going to be cost effective, right. So, you have to make sure that you have an expert who could deliver the program in an effective way. Now, that is the criteria. Based on this criteria, you move further to decide whether experts are available internally or not, and if experts are not available internally, then you have 2 options. Either you train your people to become an expert, or you go for outsourcing an expert, right. So, both possibilities are available to you. So, if you look at the second one, okay. So, suppose it is a one time affair, okay, then you do not need to go for internal experts. Experts are available outside. So, engage them based on their credibility and other things and go for this kind of program, or you develop your own program, provided you are able to afford. If you have the resources in terms of time and money, then you develop your own training program. You will find that most of the big organizations have their own training organizations, whether it is IT, steel or any kind of industry. Like you will find that Tata Steel has its own training program centers, like in IT industries you will find most of the major IT industries have their own training institutes, where they train people on technical skills, not only technical skills, but also they also take up other learning and development activities. So, they are going to maintain, because it is going to be cost effective, okay. Because if they are going to send so many people for training outside, it is going to not benefit them much in terms of cost benefit analysis. So, what they do, they are going to have in house, okay, but many organizations are not in a position to afford time and money, and what they do, they are going to ensure that their people are trained with outside expert. Okay. So, idea is that most of the training actually is outsourced, only few training programs are conducted internally, and that too in the area of what you call the technical training, right. Then if you are going to outsource, it means that you are going to purchase the program from outside, then you have to see whether the expertise is available outside or not. It means whether the level of expertise that is required from the experts is available or not. right. So, if it is available, then go for it, because it is going to be cost effective, and whether it is he is going to provide in as per your requirement within the time frame that you expect them to provide this kind of training, right. Third point is how many people is to be trained. Okay. So, you have to go for this kind of thing, either you are going to use a self based training or what you call a computer based training, or you can go for manual training where you have a trainer and he is going to train people in the batches. Okay. Then the next is subject matter, what he is going to cover in the training program, okay, in terms of the content of the training program, and what would be the cost of the training program, right. So, if you are going to outsource a training program from a vendor from outside, then you have to see that you need to consider these factors in terms of cost, benefits, expertise, in the sense whether he is credible enough. As you know that many institutions today, many organizations, industries send their participants to attend training program to specified training institutions, management schools or engineering institutions to update their knowledge and skill base, right, because they find it more cost effective, and it is not possible for most of the institutes or organizations to have their own systems and training programs, and that is why they go for these kind of things. And it also depends upon the size of the organization. Size of the HRD organization means how big the HRD department is, whether it is able to take up the responsibility or not. If it is not able to take up the responsibility, then definitely they are going to outsource it. Okay. And ultimately the X factor. X factor means something that is coming out beyond what is your expectations, right. So, you need to see that who is going to deliver an effective program, so that the employees are really happy and satisfied with the program, and they find that yes, this is a program that we are looking forward to. So, this is what we call X factor, right. So, X factor is always desirable, though not a necessary condition to conduct the program. Other factors that need to be considered is you also need to look into that if you are going to outsource a program, the vendors from where you are going to outsource, you look into his credentials, look into his credibility, whether he has offered or that particular organization has offered this kind of program, what were the feedback, right, what is the various characteristics related to the vendors in terms of its background, in terms of knowledge and skill base that people have in that particular organization, right. So, the credentials and background check is very important for the vendors if you are going to outsource a program, because that is going to help you to get a program at a cost effective way. Then how much experience vendor has in offering this kind of programs, that is another issue. Then finally, you have whether the level is batting between the vendor and the organization, whether he understands your requirement or not, and if he understands your requirement, whether he would be able to deliver what you expect from the vendor to deliver. So, there has to be some kind of philosophical match between the vendor and the organization. It means that each one of them understand each other's requirement, so that they are able to deliver the kind of program which is expected by the organization, right. So, then what kind of delivery method will be used by the vendors, right. Similarly, there are certain other considerations like what would be the content of the training program, right, in terms of say lesson plan, other things. Then you also need to look at the actual product. So, you can ask them to tell them okay, what are the programs that you are going to offer, okay, and what are the there in, and then you can also ask them to show the results, okay, you get in based upon the feedback of other organizations, right, and what kind of support system would be required by them, okay. And finally, you go for a RFP, that is request for proposal. So, ultimately if you decide that the program is to be offered from an outside expert, so you decide that you are going to float a tender invitation which is known as a request for proposal, and there you ask the vendor to provide all the details, and this could be in two parts, that is a technical details and also the financial details. So, financial details, the vendor is going to tell you how much a program would cost to you, and technical details, what are the things that they are going to offer you, right, and at what cost. So, You can go for a tenders invitations, you can invite tenders from reputed organizations, and then based on your requirement you can see which vendor is to be selected for the training program. You have another option that you can train your own people. You know that training of the trainers program is very popular these days, okay? Because sometimes you will find that not many trainers are available for specific programs. Then in that case you can go for training your own people, so that they can take up these kind of programs in the future. And that is all for today. Thank you.